Welcome to Vibration Frequency. VibrationFrequency.com. Follow, like, share, and subscribe at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. VibrationFrequency.com. Feel the vibe.
Businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, 2 movie theaters, 6 private planes, plus a hospital, a bank, a post office, schools, libraries, law offices, and even a bus system. Who says that black folks can't work together? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to LA Biz Guy. I am your humble host, Richard Carr, joined by my esteemed colleague, D'ondrae Landers. It's been quite some time. Welcome back to the show.
It's been a minute. We are back. This is LA Biz Guy, D'ondrae Landers. Welcome back. I got my first panel of ladies this time. Let them get in.
Yes.
And put their stamp on everything in this business world. I've known these young ladies for a good while now, and I think they're ready. If y'all ready is the question, because these ladies ready. My friend Lisa Puerto over here and Anisa Rashad. Lisa, tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you for this exciting opportunity to just be on a panel with you now and share the stage in a different lighting. So thank you. I am known by my trademark, Super Agent. Super Agent.
Write that down.
Yes. That is my federal registered trademark. I'm a California licensed real estate professional. I'm an international speaker, public educator. I'm an advocate for our community, specifically our youth. I am creator, founder of Real Estate 100 Youth Foundation, where we seek, teach, and empower our youth ages 11 to 17 with real estate literacy, terms, concepts, and careers as an alternate pathway to success.
There's level to this. There's levels.
Yes, lots of levels.
There's levels to this. All right. Miss Rashad.
Hello, hello, hello. I am Anisa Rashad. I am a life strategist and executive coach and host of the Life That's Live Inspired Fully Everyday podcast, where we sit down and have conversations similar to this. We deal with business executives and artists who are at the top of their game, unpacking their spirit. We're finding out what's their secret sauce to success, and really having them provide us with tools that we can use and apply in our businesses, in our lives every day.
I'm excited about these two young ladies. I'm kind of, because I know how they can be.
Right, I'm like this, I'm like this. Put me in, coach.
Yeah, so I'm going to start this off. I talked to the young men earlier, and we got some great feedback on it. So later in the segment, though, but I'm going to start off with this one. You both have been entrepreneurs for quite some time on the grind. And today, from what I've seen, you're still grinding as if you're just starting. You know, you got to keep that energy up. And from what I've observed, you've both been doing it quite well. You're a blur. You know, always gone, trying to keep up. So, Lisa, when I say invest in your brand, which I asked earlier, how you respond to that? What does that mean to you?
Invest in your brand. So identifying what your core values are and how you're going to express that into the physical material world. And I know folks kind of get tripped up on purpose and passion, and that's why I say core values. Core values in terms of what that represents, because it is about, there's brand management, there's protecting that. And when I think about investing in your brand, that also comes from the legal aspect with trademarks and patents and so forth.
I'm going to ask you this. The super agent.
Yes.
How long have you had that? Where did it come from? And actually, in general conversation, when you meet someone and you introduce that, where does it go?
Where does it go?
What's a normal reaction when you introduce yourself, your alias or whatever they want to call it,
Right.
right? What is the normal reaction? Because I've gotten to know you, and it's been validated many times over as far as I'm concerned.
I received that. I received that. So depending on who and the context, I normally do something like this. Super agent, saving our communities from housing crisis and foreclosure. And so it's an icebreaker. And I go into sharing that super agent is an advocate, really seeking, serving, and protecting our community. The brand itself was born actually post the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It was something, so I've been licensed as a professional since 2006. And so that was pre-financial bust. And in seeing that primarily our communities, Black and Brown, were hardest hit. And when we see downturns in the market is when we see most of our communities lose their wealth. And so because we had witnessed the largest white-collar crime in the history, I felt like, how do we get to a space and a place where we're no longer experiencing that? And for me, it was teach the next generation. So teach the next, fix the now is actually our tagline for Real Estate 100 Youth Foundation. Super Agent became a cartoon, and then I debuted that live in character and costume, and it just kind of has taken off since then. But I wanted to rebrand what the real estate professional represented in the industry, specifically because it wasn't just homeowners that stuck themselves. It was industry professionals that helped that. So how do I move in an industry and distinguish myself from those that participated in unethical scenarios, committed those crimes? And I just didn't want to be just another.
Were you ever hushed? Like, it's a game, right? In your field. I'm not in it, but I know a lot of people who are, and there's so many levels. You got those who just starting out, whatever. But when you see the unethical stuff, and from reputation, there is within it a culture.
Right.
And have you been put in a position to make a decision to either join the culture or not by peers and colleagues? Have you been in that position where you just had to make a decision of where your own ethics challenged you?
So yes, it's interesting because recently there's a conference. I am very careful about accepting certain sponsor dollars if it does not fit with my core value, what my brand represents. In particular, there are big banks that have screwed the community time and time again. I don't need to throw out names, but most of us know who that is. That's actually not who I would accept sponsorship from, because it is sending out a different message to the people I'm trying to serve. And if by accepting that, it's saying it's okay that we can do this, the smack on the hand, give them the pass, and we continue to say it's okay. And so I have been one to say that's not okay, and I am vocal about it. And so it's just me standing for something.
Nice. Investing in your brand, Miss Anisa Rashad. Talk to me about that.
Well, let me talk to you about investing in your brand. First, I believe that it comes down to recognizing that you have a brand. So even if you haven't ventured out into entrepreneurship, you may still be inside of corporate America and maybe thinking about entrepreneurship. Or you may have just started doing your craft, baking your pies, selling your T-shirts, right? But really didn't do that work that Lisa talked about, trademarking. All that stuff may seem like it's a big deal when you're just starting out, but everybody has a brand. And if you're out there and you're just trying to figure out what your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And let me tell you what that looks like. You ever got a friend, every time y'all going out to happy hour, you know she gonna be late? Right? You know she's just gonna be 15 minutes late, because that's her brand, right? It's what people say, it's how they know that you're gonna behave, how they know that you're gonna show up. So you already have one. So when I work with clients, instead of helping them create something that often sometimes for them feels like the used car salesman, like I'm gonna create this picture of what my brand is, and then I'm gonna go and try to peddle it to everybody. What I say is take a turn and look internally, right? Branding from the inside out is what I call my approach. what is your internal brand? Because let me tell you what you're not going to ever do. Find me like on an island in Fiji, like getting high. That's just not my thing. Right? I'm not going to be doing crack on an island in Fiji because it's not my thing, right? You're not going to be off brand. You know how you find these celebrities, they're somewhere way off brand. When you make your brand who you really are, when you make it a part of who you really are, then your brand, you'll always be on brand. You never have to worry about being caught off guard or off brand. And so when we start talking about investing in your brand, if you're not sure, if you're trying to figure it out, that's why you have organizations like LA Biz Guy, right? Your virtual business partner, right? to work with you to help you figure out what your brand is. This is why you exist, to partner with organizations to help them do things like that.
That takes me here. Have you felt pressure from time to time, both of you? This is a particular question, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the percentage of not just women, but women in color in both your respective fields, have there been particular instances where you felt a different type of pressure at one particular moment, right? Maybe directly affected. There was a moment where you actually felt it. You know, you get used to it as far as doing what you do, but then you know who you are. But has something happened that reminded you that you're a black woman and a woman in the field. It just happened right in the middle of interacting or walking to a room and, you know, things like that. Lisa, why don't you start with that? And how did you deal with it, if so?
So, absolutely feel pressured. I've got a couple things with being a woman of color, a millennial woman of color, also not native to this country as well, single mom, and I've got a list of things that I carry when you talk about pressure. Right. And being all of that, trendsetter, trailblazer, author, all these creator, right, in the industry, primarily white, male dominated. Yeah. And I literally, of course, so I think the timing of everything in the questions is because I'm living this, right? And I think this is why you recognize having us come on is because we live, we eat, we sleep, we walk, we breathe this. Yeah. And so as an active, licensed, highly productive professional, I am coming across those scenarios where there is that pressure. And for me, I did have a transaction where I presented an offer. I'm representing a client who is of color. We're submitting an offer to the listing agent who is not, a white male. And he alluded to something in the transaction that gave me the sense that he did not present my offer to his client. Mm-hmm. And so as of the last quarter of 2018, there's a new requirement that requires, if I ask for you to acknowledge presenting my offer, to give it to me in writing. And he said, are you concerned we didn't present it? Because I can give it to you in writing. 20 days goes by, and I never got that in writing. And so I processed it, and I say, do I allow it to, do I just let him be, I'll give it to you and say it 2 or 3 times in correspondence. And so it's so funny because I said to myself, again, if you allow this, then everything that you have been pushing to be represented in terms of your community, the youth, and standing and being that voice for those who have no voice. Because here I'm representing my client who's an awesome second grade teacher. She's using a DPA, which is a down payment assistance program. And so it may not easily come as an attractive offer to someone who wants an all cash or close in less than 30 days. And in that scenario, I reached back out and I said to him, as you know, you would be subject to a fine. Please turn that around to me in writing. And he responded and said, oh, I forgot. This, that, and the third, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he gave it to me within 48 hours. And the question that I got posed was, does it matter? The question I got from the broker was, well, what's the status of the property? I said, I don't know. It's a principle now.
Right.
That I presented an offer. I asked for the acknowledgement. And I feel like also because who I am, where my brokerage is located, as opposed to being on the other side of town in a different zip code, I would have been handled differently. So that pressure, yes, all the time, to make sure I'm speaking up and loud. And that also comes with that concern of being ostracized. Because now, as you said, people will now know me as that vociferous one, right? She's always got something to say. And I said to myself, did he not pay attention to my email signatures? Creator, founder, vice chair, author, award-winning. I'm not a regular. Again, that goes back to brand.
Yeah.
Super agent for me is the best of what I do and who I am. I'm just not your average.
Right. It's not what we strive to be.
No.
It's not why we get up.
We don't wake up and say, I'm just going to go have an average meal. I want an average partner and I want average service. That's not innate. That's not what we do.
Right. Okay. I like it. This young lady right here, both these young ladies, I get in awe when I sit here and speak with these men, because they're also friends of mine as well. So we've had some interactions as well. So how's that for you?
So for as long as I remember, I started working at NASA as a 19-year-old as an intern. So for as long as I can remember in my professional career, I've kind of always been on the only person of color in this room, youngest person in the room, the only girl in the room, the only person who didn't have an engineering degree in the room. So for so many years, that was just the natural order of things. And I just found the way that I do it and the way that has worked for me is combat that with being excellent. Because when you're the best at what you do, they have to call you when you the super agent. They have to call the super agent, right? So when you have those things against you, just for me, I found being excellent sometimes cancels those things out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're both well-traveled as far as business. Well-traveled conducting business. Is it easy or just slight differences on how business in your respective fields is done city to city, state to state?
I think for me, the way I do it, it doesn't change if I'm doing it locally or if I'm doing it on the road. I think if you are a person who travels a lot, you have to find a way to make that work for you. And so I have this thing that I call these Juicy Integrated Life travel strategies that I share with folks when I go. It's like 7 tips to make your next work trip a workcation, right? And it's just things that you can do to make being on the road not so hard, not so difficult.
Right. What about you?
So for me, it's twofold. When I first started off, not easy in here, especially because what brought me out with traveling was the real estate literacy movement. And it was actually, and I was honored and give thanks to ancestors to opening doors and guides and putting those guiding posts in my way that actually provided home, shelter, food, the people saying, you know what, we're honored to just be a part of what you are doing. I had my Lyft driver who said, I will drive you for free because I just want to be a part of what you're doing. I stayed in someone's basement, mind you. I had never met him, connected with him on Facebook, quote unquote, found me and said, yo, sis, our children need this. Are you willing to come do this? And my destiny card, if you will, got pulled because I was doing something else. I know there was a need for reaching out for the youth. And so here I'm going to Philadelphia, didn't know anyone. And when I got there, there was so much metaphor and there was so much spirit involved with what I was doing because I felt nostalgic in that experience that I had been there and it was a homecoming. And at the same token, when I arrived to the place where I was living, Philadelphia has those tri-levels and he was renting the basement. And to make me feel comfortable and secure, he asked a woman to stay with us. And I remember she said to me, yo, you the alchemist. She's like, how are you doing this? And you don't know him, you don't know me. I said, because I am serving a greater mission right now that is greater than me. So I am trusting something beyond me. And it has gotten easier as I took that first step in terms of traveling and doing the work. And at every step, I get that confirmation that, yes, you know, everything, you may not have all the pieces, but when you show up, they come together.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it. So I'm going to go a little left, something we don't, I don't see these questions asked, this particular question. And it's simple. As entrepreneurs, at some point, negotiation becomes everything. Your skill, it becomes a skill. To some, it's talent, right? And I know what both of you do. And there's always room in your fields for negotiation. How important has it been for you, and how did you evolve to this point from when you first started, realizing you have to start negotiation, or you had that opportunity to negotiate? How has your negotiation skills evolved, and how important has it been since then?
So I would say negotiation is everything.
Right.
And one of the keys, and I work with a lot of my clients I have a lot of clients that are inside of corporate America who are transitioning outside of corporate America. So they're starting their companies and they're building it while they're still inside. And oftentimes a question that comes up, how much do I charge? They don't know how much they should charge for their services. And so when I'm coaching them around charging, one of the things I tell them, you can't let somebody else's pocketbook, how much money they have, determine your value, right? So you have to really determine what is the value you're delivering, how long it takes you to deliver it, what you're going to call it, how much you're going to price it, you know, all of these things. You have to get clear on all of that. Where do you go find the people who need it? And then negotiate your price that you deserve, recognizing, especially starting out, you know, the first round of folks, 10, 50, however many people you encounter, may not be able to meet your rate. And that's okay. You have to be comfortable with that if you understand the value that you are bringing to the process. So that's what I would say about negotiation.
Agreed. I mean, that is the nature
Yeah.
of my business.
In your business, in real estate business, outside of properties, buying and selling, is there another part of your business
Yes.
outside of that?
And
where
that's
you
what I
have
was
to
going to share.
negotiate?
And that's what I was going to share, because although that's my nature, and as we talk about growth and brand, I have stepped into radio podcast hosting, right? So I'm dealing now with sponsorship and asset inventory valuation. I've authored multiple books, curriculums, the tangibles, as
Yeah,
what we say,
okay.
right? The tangibles. And so one of the things that I'm learning is properly, how do I place a value on those assets? And it has really been, it's challenging because it's not the real estate. But here's what excites me about it, and I embrace it, is because it's actually called the same thing in real estate, asset. So it may be a book, it may be a snapbacks, T-shirts, all these different types of tangibles, and there's so much, email lists, Instagram, your social media, those are all assets. And so placing a value on that and negotiating, and what I'm finding is, and I do this actually in part of a course that we're launching called The Spirit of Business, when we're talking about placing a value on those assets, is most people, when they think negotiation, they think monetary.
Yeah, right.
And so you may miss the opportunity for bartering a plane ticket round trip, right? You may be saying, well, I want my speaker fee. Okay, but they're covering lodging and your round trip flight.
Which you can turn into a workcation.
A workation.
Right.
Or plan something when you get there for other business. I'm going to be in
Absolutely.
town
Right.
while I'm there in between.
And I do that.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I do that all the time. So it's very important when we're speaking of negotiation to really open our minds of what that means and not necessarily be hung up on monetary, because I always, and I have so much fun doing this, I would tally up what I get. Like I'm launching a webinar series. I just got the entire webinar sponsored by a new startup company. So they're hosting my webinar on their platform in exchange to be featured as the host of the webinar. So instead of paying whatever webinars run for $25 a month to $130 depending on the company, I now get it for a lifetime as long as I'm using them. So for me, that's a win.
That's a win.
But I'm not, it just doesn't stop there. I say to them, and here's the thing about negotiating, is asking, what else can I give, right? What else? What else do you want? Do you want your logo in our email list and our survey after the webinar ends? Oh, yeah, we want that too. Great. There's a fee for that.
How about that?
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how that works?
All right. I like it. Good nuggets right there. Anisa, when was that moment where you made a decision, right? That decision that said, I'm glad I made that decision, or I hate I made that decision, and it knocked me back a step. Whichever one was more, you can pick which one or both. You can choose which one, and which one was the most impactful, the one that propelled you, or the one that knocked you back a couple of steps, the one that's most memorable to you.
Well, I think the number one decision is just a decision to go into entrepreneurship, period. Right? So when I was inside of corporate America, the type of job I had, people don't leave those types of jobs. I call them the golden handcuffs because they're golden. You make a lot of money. You can do a lot of stuff. Talk about travel, a lot of business travel, but a lot of personal travel as well. But it's like it's holding you hostage in some ways because it's keeping you from doing this passion work. Keeping you from going out doing the thing that you know you were placed here to do, because there's a difference between your job and your calling. Because you can get fired from, downsized, laid off, retire from your job, but your calling, that's that thing that's bigger than you.
Okay.
Right? And so you can't get laid off from your calling.
Okay.
And so I think for me, just betting on myself, betting on the fact that I knew what I had, I knew the gifts, I knew the skills, I knew the talents that God had placed inside of me, and saying, you know what, looking at my husband, having a conversation, I'm going to bet on myself.
Right.
I'm going to bet on myself. And I believe that for me has been the best decision I have made. For
what
sure.
about you, Lisa?
I had so much, I just so which one, because as I reflect as of today, as there's been so many moments when I look years, months, days down to the minute, every moment is that decision that is catapulting me. The one that I can lean on is the one that I decided to do the youth work. When they literally called and said, you've got 30 days, and we're trying to coordinate that you were here for the Million Man March. And at that time, I was in no position to do travel. They want me there for 12 days. I have my son with me, and I'm feeling all this pressure of my personal responsibilities, professional responsibilities. And that was the best decision in deciding to show up and go forth, because I have touched ground across this country in places that I've never been, and have so much more in store to be across water in doing this work. And that excites me, and I'm so grateful that I found that courage in me.
I'm glad you found that courage, because here we are, both of you. We met almost randomly in both cases, and the two of you have enlightened me on a lot of things as far as just interacting. Have brought the best out of me, and so I'm always honored when people bring the energy that you guys bring, and we can get into this and have these kind of forums and platforms. And just really make some change and uplift each other as well as our consumers. I really appreciate you guys coming out.
And to our lucky caller who called in tonight, I gave out some statistics about black business and said that who says we can't work together? Well, the statistics I pronounced tonight before we came back from the break are from Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. That was Black Wall Street. Yes, we can do it. Yes, we can. And that's my Obama speech for tonight. Good night. Take us to the break. You're listening to
D'ondrae Landers, LA Biz Guy. I'd like to appreciate everyone who came in today, listeners, the viewers, and this is just the beginning. Don't sleep, because we are noisy when we're trying to get what we want.
We have
and
more
you will
coming.
Be waking up. How do I say it? You will
Awakened.
in your sleep.
Who told you you love your black preacher? Can you respect your brother's woman friend and share with black folks not of kin? I say now people must prove to the people a better day is coming for you and for me, with just a little bit more education and love for our nation would make a better society. And if you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right? And if you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers? If there was no day or night, which would you prefer to be right? If you had a choice of colors, which one would you choose, my brothers?
You are tastefully tuned to Vibration Frequency. VibrationFrequency.com. Follow us, like, and share at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Vibration Frequency. Feel the vibe?